This week, the Trump administration paused military operations against Iran while threatening renewed combat if diplomacy fails. Domestically, the president pressured Senate Republicans over his Attorney General nominee, challenged the USMCA trade agreement, defended tariffs amid Canadian retaliation, and clarified ICE protocols for Election Day. We examine these developments and their implications. President Trump has ordered a pause in military operations against Iran to allow diplomatic negotiations to proceed. Trump told Axios on Monday he made the decision following a meeting with top military and national security advisors, but warned he would resume very strong military action if talks collapse. The negotiations conducted between Iran and Oman, with involvement from Qatar, Pakistan, Egypt, and senior Trump advisors, focus on reopening the Strait of Hormuz and relaunching nuclear deal discussions. Negotiators are exploring a framework where Iran, Oman, and other regional states would collect service fees for maritime security and passage through the strait, modeled on arrangements in the Strait of Malacca. Trump described the diplomatic window as narrow, stating either progress comes quickly or not at all. He is scheduled to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday. President Trump has ordered a pause in military operations against Iran to allow diplomatic negotiations to proceed, but warned he would resume military action if talks collapse. The decision came after Trump met with top military and national security advisors, reversing his earlier inclination toward expanded combat operations. Talks are being conducted primarily between Iran and Oman, with involvement from Qatar, Pakistan, Egypt, and senior Trump advisors. Negotiators are exploring a framework in which Iran, Oman, and other regional states would collect service fees for maritime security through the Strait of Hormuz, modeled after arrangements in the Strait of Malacca. Trump described the diplomatic window as narrow, saying either negotiations proceed quickly or not at all. He is scheduled to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday, where Middle East strategy will likely be discussed. President Trump has threatened to withdraw Attorney General nominee Todd Blanche's nomination until Republican Senators Tom Tillis and John Cornyn leave office. The threat came after both senators' votes on Blanche troubled Trump, who has refused to endorse either lawmaker. Blanche, currently serving as acting Attorney General, has faced scrutiny over his role in negotiating a settlement involving Trump's administration that established a nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund and granted tax enforcement immunity to Trump and his sons. The Judiciary Committee, evenly divided with 12 Republicans and 10 Democrats, postponed a scheduled vote Thursday. Both Tillis and Cornyn previously confirmed Merrick Garland as Attorney General under President Biden, a position that has drawn Trump's displeasure. The Trump administration has placed the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement under annual review rather than renewing it indefinitely, creating significant uncertainty for Texas businesses. Mexico and Canada account for roughly 12% of the Texas state economy. The administration announced a 10% tariff on Mexican imports and 50% tariffs on Canadian imports, including automobiles and trucks. Air Tractor, an only-based aircraft manufacturer employing more than 400 people, imports engines from Canada that represent approximately half the value of its finished planes. Under the new tariff structure, those engines would face a 25% effective tariff without USMCA protections. The company's president said the impact would force deep cuts in staff and supply. Toyota announced it would shift 2,000 jobs from Tijuana to its San Antonio facility, citing the tariff environment. U.S. trade talks with Mexico are ongoing, but the administration has not formally engaged Canada in negotiations. President Trump visited a General Motors plant in Michigan to defend his tariff strategy as a boost to domestic manufacturing. Trump said automakers face a choice: produce vehicles in the United States and avoid tariffs, or assemble them abroad and face substantial duties at the border. The White House pointed to General Motors' $6 billion commitment to U.S. manufacturing as evidence the approach is working, with Ford, Stellantis, and Detroit Diesel also announcing investments. The administration plans a 50% tariff increase on some Canadian goods in August. Canada has responded with 25% tariffs on U.S. vehicles and parts. Yet Michigan remains among the nation's slowest job growth states. Over 12 months through June, Michigan added only 500 jobs, while Texas added 177,900. Michigan's unemployment rate stood at 5.1% in May, among the highest in the country. The Department of Homeland Security announced Thursday that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is not planning operations specifically targeting polling locations during November's midterm elections. However, DHS left open the possibility that enforcement plans could shift based on available intelligence and public safety threats. A dozen Senate Democrats sent a letter Tuesday demanding transparency about federal law enforcement deployment at voting sites, arguing that armed federal agents would violate long-standing federal law prohibiting federal interference with elections. The inquiry follows a records battle in which ICE initially reported having no documents on federal presence at election facilities, then located more than 11,000 potentially responsive pages. U.S. Customs and Border Protection separately identified nearly 117,000 pages. Democrats set an August 11th deadline for cabinet responses. President Donald Trump is pressuring Senate Republican leadership to cancel the chamber's August recess and remain in session until passage of the Save America Act, which would require citizenship verification and photo ID for voter registration. Trump directed Senate Majority Leader John Thune on Monday to advance the bill without delay and to eliminate the legislative filibuster to clear its path. Thune countered that insufficient support exists to remove the filibuster or pass the measure in its current form. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer stated the SAVE Act is dead on arrival. Several Republican senators backed Trump's position, including Senators Mike Lee, Ashley Moody, and Rick Scott. The Senate is scheduled to depart for a 5-week August break on August 6. President Trump announced a $22.5 billion overhaul of Washington Dulles International Airport's main terminal during an Oval Office event Wednesday. The project will preserve the terminal's iconic concave roof while introducing a new central walkway and reconstructing the C and D concourses. The distinctive people movers that have transported passengers for decades will be replaced by an expanded underground aerotrain system. A multi-story parking garage will connect to the terminal via glass bridges, and new air traffic control towers are planned. Trump said he was personally involved in the design, reviewing proposals and requesting increased parking. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy noted that dissatisfaction with Dulles spans the political spectrum. Construction could begin as spring 2027, with financing from airlines and the airport authority, rather than federal appropriations. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is preparing to reopen Rivers Correctional Institution in Winton, North Carolina, as a 1,400-bed immigrant detention facility under contract with private prison operator Geo Group. The facility had remained empty for 5 years. Geo Group, which previously operated Rivers from 2001 to 2021, posted a job listing for a facility maintenance manager on July 11th, signaling imminent staffing preparations. An ICE spokesman said the agency has not yet formally opened new detention centers, though activity at the site suggests the process is underway. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein condemned the reopening, stating that ICE has a history of arresting, detaining, and abusing American citizens. During Rivers' previous operation, the facility faced repeated complaints, including inadequate medical care and understaffing. A 2007 lawsuit alleged denial of medical treatment at the facility. A mass shooting at Seattle's Bite of Seattle Food Festival has left 3 people dead and 4 others injured. Gunfire erupted Sunday evening at Seattle Center around 6 p.m., with witnesses reporting 2 individuals shooting at each other as bystanders were caught in the crossfire. The 3 killed include a 19-year-old man, a 44-year-old man, and a 56-year-old woman. 4 others were wounded, including a young boy, and were transported to hospitals in stable condition. Police recovered 2 firearms at the scene. 1 suspect was taken into custody, while a second remained at large as of Sunday evening. Acting Police Chief Tyrone Davis said officers reached victims within seconds, providing emergency aid until firefighters arrived. Mayor Katie Wilson called the attack an act of horrific violence. Authorities noted the absence of surveillance cameras in the immediate area and are seeking video and witness information from the public. The Massachusetts House has passed legislation that would expand abortion access beyond the current 24-week limit. The Prioritizing Patient Access to Care Act would allow physicians to perform abortions after 24 weeks based on their clinical judgment. Currently, Massachusetts law restricts abortion care past 24 weeks, even in cases of serious fetal diagnoses or significant health complications. A Maryland-based physician who regularly provides later pregnancy abortion care says she sees several Massachusetts patients monthly who are carrying wanted pregnancies with devastating fetal diagnoses or serious health changes. The bill now heads to the Massachusetts Senate, which must act before the legislative session closes Friday. If the Senate does not pass it by the deadline, the current 24-week restriction remains in effect. The Department of Homeland Security has announced its largest single-day enforcement action on record, blocking 43 Chinese companies from importing goods into the United States. Officials said the firms are accused of relying on forced labor practices in China's Xinjiang region. The action enforces the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, a 2021 law prohibiting goods from Xinjiang from entering the U.S. market. DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullen described the companies as using slave labor. The blocked firms span aluminum, apparel, copper, cotton, and tomato production, sectors that feed directly into American supply chains. DHS classified the enforcement as a national security matter. The action brings the total number of entities on the UFLPA entity list to 187. That's the week from the American Star News. For complete coverage of every story in this briefing, visit theamericanstarnews.com and subscribe so you never miss the weekly